Motivation helps explain a remarkable number of processes in our psychological lives. To illustrate this idea, let's look at one of the most famous experiments in the history of psychology, an experiment that remains both elegant and easy to understand. Many of Kurt Lewin's students fled Nazi Germany during the 1930s. One of them, Bluma Zeigarnik, went on to become one of the founders of clinical psychology in the Soviet Union, and later taught for many years at the Faculty of Psychology at Moscow State University. Those who knew her often described her as a small, modest woman with extraordinary intellectual presence. Despite her quiet appearance, generations of psychology students remembered her for the depth of her thinking and her ability to make even the most difficult psychological ideas feel immediately meaningful. There is a story from the early 1980s. A group of visiting Japanese psychology students came to Moscow State University. Like many visitors, they wanted to meet the scholars whose work had shaped modern psychology. Once they realized that Bluma Zeigarnik herself was still teaching there, meeting her became the highlight of their trip. Her master's thesis had earned worldwide recognition. Today, psychologists still refer to one of its central discoveries as the Zeigarnik Effect. The Zeigarnik Effect concerns incidental memory, the way we remember information even when we have no intention of memorizing it. Lewin argued that every activity creates not only an external goal, but also a psychological state that remains active until the task is complete. Suppose you are not trying to memorize anything at all. You are simply performing ordinary tasks. Can your memory still be influenced? Zeigarnik demonstrated that the answer is yes. Her experiment was remarkably simple. Participants spent about 30 minutes completing a series of small tasks. None of them were particularly difficult. They might draw a simple picture, build a small figure from clay, solve a visual puzzle, rearrange matchsticks into a new geometric pattern. By the end of the session, each participant had worked through roughly 15 to 20 different activities. But there was one important detail. As an experienced experimenter, Zeigarnik intentionally interrupted some of the tasks, and she did so at exactly the moment when participants were most engaged. Imagine someone carefully shaping a figure from modeling clay. They have just realized that the object is beginning to resemble a dog rather than a random shape. At that very moment, the experimenter says, "Please stop here and move on to the next task. That's enough." The participant never gets to finish. After all the activities are over, the experimenter asks a simple question. Can you remember what tasks you completed? Many participants protest. You never told me I was supposed to memorize anything. Exactly. That is the point. There was no memory task. But if they are encouraged to recall whatever comes to mind, a fascinating pattern appears. The unfinished tasks are remembered significantly better than the completed ones. This is the Zeigarnik Effect. The content of interrupted activities is remembered more easily and more consistently than the content of activities that have been completed. Even participants who try to recall everything fairly tend to mention the interrupted tasks first. Only afterward do they begin remembering the completed ones. Why does this happen? Lewin explained it in terms of motivation. An unfinished task leaves behind what he called a quasi-need, a temporary psychological tension that remains active because the goal has not yet been achieved. The action has not reached completion. The motivational state has not been resolved. As a result, the mind continues to hold on to the unfinished activity. The psychological system behaves as though the task is still waiting to be completed. Lewin often illustrated this idea with a simple real-world example. Think about an experienced waiter in a busy restaurant. While customers are still dining, the waiter remembers every order with remarkable accuracy. Who ordered which meal? Who requested a substitution? Which table is waiting for dessert? But once the bill has been paid and the table has left, those details disappear surprisingly quickly. Why? Because the situational motivation has been satisfied. The task is complete. There is no longer any psychological tension keeping the information active. This distinction also illustrates one of Lewin's broader ideas about human motivation. Our basic motivations are rooted in our personal history and help explain who we have become over time. By contrast, situational motivation belongs to the present moment. It emerges from the immediate task in front of us and disappears once that task has been successfully completed.